The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker, Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker, Combat Sports, on the road.
Welcome back, Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I am your host, DJ Reed, joined once again by my fellow host, Aaron Meyer, Steve Johnson. What's good, fellas?
Happy Monday, and the Royals are tied with the Yankees.
Wait a minute,
so I'm happy.
Wait a minute, Meyer. You said Monday?
It's Tuesday. Shit, Tuesday. Yeah, happy Tuesday. But yeah, I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
Royals and Yankees tied in the playoffs, so I'm in a good mood.
It does kind of feel like a Monday, but it is Tuesday, and most likely this will be out on Wednesday. But like you said, your Royals won, so Western Missouri is happy about that. Kansas, all the surrounding areas. Yeah, man. I guess we get a follow up on how that weekend play out, because I know you had some reservations about maybe attending a wedding as opposed to watching the Royals and then UFC. So how'd that play out?
Well, ended up we were gonna go to the wedding, and last minute my girlfriend decided we're not going. We're going to Twin Peaks to watch the Royals play. So we went and watched the Royals. It got done right as UFC was coming on. So I hurried home. I go to turn on the fight card, and my IPTV provider of choice, all channels were down Saturday night. What? So I had to watch it on TikTok.
Wait a minute. So do you and Rucker have the same one? Because he was complaining recently about his.
He uses mine.
We'll have to discuss what you use off air. I don't want anybody tracking us on YouTube.
First time in 8 years that I've ever had problems with them the other night.
Yeah.
And then it came back on Sunday morning, so I don't know if their servers were down or what, but I ended up watching most of the fights on TikTok. I'd go through and find somebody that was streaming it, and then I used one of the sites you use, and I went back and rewatched the whole card today so I could get the full TV experience.
Did you do it like on Fire Stick or Apple TV or?
I did AirPlay from my phone to the TV because I got an Apple TV.
Yeah, I gotcha. Like if you got like Google TV or Fire TV, like I got like the bookmark saved on there, so you could just click the remote on the TV and use those sites. As long as you have a pop-up blocker, because those sites got hell of
lots of pop-ups.
Yeah, but my pop-up blocker on my Google TV, it blocks all of it and just goes straight to the fights. But I digress. Steve, you end up watching the fights, I guess, at your place?
Yeah, I did. I was multitasking, but was watching back and forth. I was taking one reason was taking my kids to the skating rink. So trying to catch in between, caught the main, prelims in Maine, but still was occupied too. But I'll make sure I caught the exciting moments, definitely.
That skating rink is pretty fun. Me and my girl went a couple months ago. Like before that, I went like once randomly in 2022, and before that, I hadn't went skating since I was a kid. So, so nice the nostalgia. And you have like those people out there taking it way too serious, like the adults, like doing dipsy doos and spinning backwards. It's usually like the boomers, like our parents' age, like backwards doing the dipsy doos. I'm like, damn, man. I mean, if this was make you happy, I'm not judging, but geez.
I'll tell you one thing, they still play the same music when I was a kid.
Yeah. That one in Jeff City, they still play saying oldies. That's well, when I was there, they mixed it up a little bit, but yeah, they played a lot of the 2000s, 90s stuff. But
A lot of NSYNC and Backstreet Boys.
yeah. So it's always nice to get those throwbacks on. But Admire, so you watched the Royals game at a bar, and then you attempted to go home to watch the fights, and that's when the incident happened.
Yep. IPTV was down for me, so
Man, you say you were at Twin Peaks. I don't know if you said that off record. I don't know if you said it on here.
Twin Peaks. That's my place of choice. Great food, great scenery.
So you probably would have been, good to go just staying there. They probably had the fights on there.
Yeah, they had the fights on and stuff, but my girlfriend, she stayed through the whole Royals game. We got there when it started. We stayed through the very end, so we were already there 3 hours. So I wasn't gonna make her sit through another 3 hours of fights.
Yeah, that's a good audible on your part. But yeah, man, IPTVs, that was a game changer when I first got mine, even though I switched like twice since. The one I've been with like for 3 years now, so this one's been stable. But I was first with I don't even think this exists anymore, so I don't care if I say it on here. What was the name of it? Oh man, I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head, or I would say it on there. But they kind of went on the fritz, and then I went to another one that's back in business. They went out of business, now they're back, but I hadn't switched back on there, so I'm not gonna call them out. But yeah, man, it's like a game changer though. Like I said, because like I hadn't been out regularly to go out to see the fights. I've probably been out like twice since mid 2019 to go watch the fights. I got a B-dubs or wherever else, and I mean, I like the experience of going out, being amongst the people, because you kind of feel the hype of the fights in the air. But I probably saved so much money by not going out, because even though most places don't do a cover charge, I've been to a couple places when I live in California that fucking did a cover charge. I'm like, nope, I just went somewhere else. But for the most part, yeah, Missouri, they're not gonna charge a cover charge. But every time you go out, you're gonna eat, you're gonna drink, so you're gonna spend a minimum with $30 if you're being modest. So so much money's been spent by watching them at home. But like I said, it's pros and cons either way. But let's get into this card that happened this past weekend. UFC. What are we on? Number we on 307 now. These things are flying by. I feel like we just had 300 the other day. Went down in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I guess they started going here. What 2022? They started going here every year. I guess it's just the norm now. Admire, they just go to Utah every year.
I think so. I mean, it was a packed house there and stuff. So I think it's just them trying to expand and, try to hit every market they can. The more markets they hit, the more fans they pick up. So it's a good business move.
Yeah, like you said, it seems pretty packed in there. And, it's Utah. They have the Jazz, but I think they have a soccer team too. And they just got the hockey team. Well, I guess I was just gonna, shit on them, but they do have sports teams out there. There's a lot of Mormons out there, but besides that, it's probably not too much to do out there in Salt Lake City. So if you get UFC out there, they're gonna pack the house.
Yeah.
Let's go through these early prelims. At the welterweight division, you had Court McGee turning back the hands of time and defeating Tim Means, Dirty Bird Tim Means, by submission neck crank. Yeah, Tisha Pennington, women's strawweight, defeating Carla Esparza. Retirement ensued after that. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit. And then in the light heavyweight division, you had Ryan Spann defeating OSP, Open State Prue, by submission guillotine choke. Did any of y'all have a chance to get to watch these early prelims?
No, I didn't watch them, but I did get the pop-up after it happened that Esparza was retiring after the fight.
Steve?
Yeah, a little bit on and off.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the Court McGee fight. I was watching, Tisha Pennington. What else I had on? I think I might have had Bad Blood on or college football. So I was like halfway watching, and pretty uneventful. It was a close fight, and people thought Esparza won. And then Ryan Spann pretty much just starts OSP, got him on the feet, and then got that submission. I mean, I guess that's pretty much it for OSP. I mean, he's a gatekeeper. Nothing wrong with that. He had a career. But if you're him, you feel like he keeps getting finished and taking damage. I guess would you retire if you're OSP at this point, I guess?
I don't know if I don't know if he should. I mean, he's got that gatekeeper status. He still carries a decent name. You know, make the money. While you still can. I don't think they're going to kick him out or anything. How many fights is that for him?
How many fights total?
Or how many losses is he on?
He's got 18 losses.
Mm.
And then he's 41. It's not like if he was like 35, like, all right, he's 41. So it's not like he's some spring chicken. So you just say keep going until his brain is just mush, I guess.
Well, let me take a look and see. I mean, he's probably got the same thing everybody else does. You know, he gets a big fight and then it's kind of downhill from there.
I mean, he's been trading wins and losses since 2021 after losing 2 in a row. But after that, he was win, loss, win, loss, win, loss.
Yeah, I mean, that John Jones thing, John Jones beat him in 2016, and then he's not been the same guy. Yeah, I mean, the more I see his record and stuff, I mean, it's time to hang it up. You know, like I said, like we say for all of them, start a gym.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think Ryan Spann, he's been more, I would say, in the limelight than over St. Preux since of recent. I think Ryan Spann easily fills in the slot of what OSP was, had a few runs, fought John Jones. Ryan Spann was getting up there. He seems like every time he gets to a certain level, he might get starched or caught by somebody. But Ryan Spann, I just noticed him on the win more than over St. Preux over the years. So I think, over St. Preux, if you're getting beat by Ryan Spann, I mean, I think it may be less than a gatekeeper status since you're getting beat by, so to speak, gatekeeper.
Yeah, and OSP isn't even in the top 15, so he's kind of even lost that gatekeeper status at this point. He's, I mean, exactly where he was. He's undercard status now.
And I think Ryan Spann did put on impressive. If he does win, I think he makes people talk about him with an impressive performance or a win. So I just have Ryan Spann in my mind more than OSP as far as remembering his performances.
Yeah, Ryan Spann needed that one too. He was on 3-fight losing streak, so definitely. I don't know if it was a must win. It depends on how cool you are with the upper brass of the UFC, but yeah, he needed that win.
Spann needs every win that he can get having that Superman on his chest. You can't have that and take a bunch of losses, man.
Very cringe tattoo, but he's in professional wrestling terms. He's living the gimmick. That's his nickname, Superman Spann. He took it to another level, though. I wouldn't have got that tattoo, but I guess to each his own, for provolone, as they say. But yeah, it was a pretty solid early prelim, but let's move on to the preliminary card. Middleweight division, you had Cesar Almeida defeating Ihor Potieria by decision. Lightweight division, you had Alexander Hernandez defeating Austin Hubbard by split decision. Women's strawweight, you had Yasmin Usendo defeating Marina Rodriguez by split decision. And to top this one off, we had in the welterweight division, Joaquin Buckley defeating Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, KO. Did y'all get a chance to watch any of these prelims?
I watched the Stephen Thompson Buckley fight. That was a brutal knockout. He jumped into that and just had everything behind it. And it kind of just, it's what everybody knows, but not what everybody does. That's what you have to do to beat Stephen Thompson. Stay in his face, and just throw bombs. You're eventually going to land one. He likes to play that outside counter striking. And if you just keep in his face, eventually you're going to land. Sad to see him lose. Stephen Thompson's a cool dude. He's fun to watch, but great knockout by Buckley. I mean, that was hard.
Before we dive deeper into that, Steve, did you get a chance to watch any of the prelims?
Joaquin Buckley and Stephen Thompson, definitely.
Yeah, that's the only one I watched. I don't know why. I think something was on. I couldn't watch the other one. But yeah, I watched the Joaquin Buckley and Stephen Thompson. And go back to what Admire was talking about. Seems like before he did catch him, it was Buckley was kind of wild out there. It looked like he was having a little bit of trouble finding the range before, like you said, he just eventually caught him. I feel like, unless I'm mistaken, we watched a lot of fights. I feel like Stephen Thompson was using the range pretty well at first, wasn't he?
He was, it was just classic Stephen Thompson style, using the range. And then I think Buckley just, decided it's time to swarm.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, he just kept pressing forward and eventually he got to him. What do you think about this one, Steve?
Yeah, that third round, he decided to get more aggressive. And I guess this, what it looked like his plan is to be aggressive, as of course his style was Stephen Thompson's the counterpunch. He was backing up a lot, watching for Buckley's power. And I saw there's a pattern. He would try to get his back, bounce off the fence, and get that momentum and throw those hooks. And that was the last one that did it. He hopped into that one. It's almost like it's not a Superman hook, but it's almost hopping fashion how Pettis got him, athletic. And I don't think he saw it coming. And it looked like Stephen Thompson, when he's bouncing off the fence, it looked like he was going to do a side push kick to bounce him off, but he just closed the distance too much. Buckley, his unique style, I think he's the one that emphasizes the bob and weave most in the UFC so far.
As far as what bobbing, like a boxing technique, bobbing and weaving?
Yeah, it's boxing technique, and to get in, to which I thought that would get him in trouble, a head kick. But like you said, he had trouble, and he found his way in. I think third round, he knew he had to back him up against the fence to where he had nowhere to go.
True. So before we get into what's next for Buckley, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is kind of almost parallel to what we just discussed for OSP. He's 41 as well. Is it time for him to hang it up now, like you said, and focus on that gym he has in South Carolina, my home state?
I don't think so. I mean, he's still up there, man. He's number 11 now. I think he's still got some good fights in him. Just I don't think he should really consider like a title run or anything. Just hang back and fight some of the guys that he hasn't fought. The fight that I've been talking about, Stephen Thompson and MVP. That's something I want to see eventually. I think stylistically, we've talked about it. It's either going to be fireworks or it's going to be boring. But it would just be a fun fight to see for me. I think there's a couple fights left for Stephen Thompson up there.
What do you think, Steve?
Does he have a top 10 spot?
He's number 11. He dropped to number 11 after this.
Yeah. He's out of the top 10 now. There's nothing too much except maybe opportunity, a stylistic fight, but I can't see even too much UFC investing in Thompson. Hasn't had too much of highlights, maybe some wins, but he's been on the low radar. Always we know he's going to bring a good fight, but heck, maybe before we know it, I mean, maybe Stephen Thompson is considered an older fighter to the younger generation.
Yeah, for sure.
So, so I feel like Stephen Thompson may just be a good coaster to just find opportunity, good fights, because I can't see a title run, especially getting. Not saying Buckley's not a competitor, and of course he dropped down from middleweight, probably a bigger fighter. But Buckley's a newcomer, and if you get knocked out by Buckley, I mean, what can you do? To just a new person to get away of who just beat you. I just don't see it.
Yeah, his fighting styles, he's at a lighter division, so like Admire saying, he could keep going, but it's up to him. Like, what is he fighting for still? Like, if he just wants to put on fun fights and make money, I guess I can't knock him for that. But if he's fighting to try to get a belt, that ship is sailed. So if he wants to stay in it and just do fun fights and get a check, I mean, I'd make sure he like check with a medical expert and see if he's not taking too much damage and he's still able to. Because once you start getting those 40s, man, stuff starts working differently, and you don't want to be taking all that damage. You want to be able to live your life later on when you're in your 50s and 60s, 70s. So, yeah, I take some time off and then see, if it's viable for him to keep moving on. But going back to Buckley, so the fight that he had when I was in St. Louis, he jumped out the window and like challenged Conor McGregor. I think I want to say, we know he wasn't getting that fight. After this fight, he had a lot more reasonable call out. He called out Usman. So y'all see that fight happening?
Man, I like that call out. I think they're not exactly in the same area as far as the rankings go, but why not? Buckley is fresh blood in this division. There's tons of people that he hasn't fought. So why not shoot your shot? Usman's up there at number 2. If Buckley would beat Usman, that should put him in line for, a title shot. So why not? You got to, shoot for the stars on it. If not, man, I'd like to see Buckley against somebody like Gilbert Burns, Ian Gary, Sean Brady, somebody like that, give him another step up. I mean, it's kind of a big thing to just come right in and knock out Stephen Thompson. You should get a little bump up, get some higher competition, not really fight somebody behind you. I think the only person behind him that he fought, didn't he fight like Luke or somebody? Yeah, he fought Luke and beat him. So I don't really want to see Buckley fighting behind. I want to see him fighting somebody ranked higher.
Okay. What do you think, Steve?
Definitely, I think Buckley is considered somebody higher, especially if as much success of takedowns I think he had with he got some of them stuff, but he was able to get Stephen Thompson down pretty good. And just for comparison, coincidentally, they're both from St. Louis. Like, I felt like Buckley was doing what Woodley should have done more of. And based off of, similar sizes, we were comparing Stephen Thompson. That was a good test run that he just went through. Considering that, I think he needs to fight higher competition. When you said Ian Gary, that automatically popped up, and that's a good fight to do. Definitely somebody in the top 10. I think he deserves that, especially as a person. Doesn't mean too much, but a person who's heavier coming down to welterweight too. I think he proved, and I think Dana sees he probably needs a bigger test if he's taking down Stephen Thompson like that.
Yeah. What were some of the names you named off, Admire, again?
Gilbert Burns, Ian Gary, Sean Brady. I mean, hell, even a Colby Covington, man.
I don't think they would give him Colby Covington.
What's his name? UK dances. Michael Page.
Michael Venom Page?
Yeah.
Admire said he wants to see Wonder Boy versus MVP.
I think Buckley would run through MVP. I think Buckley would do the same thing to MVP that he just did to Stephen Thompson. Just get frustrated with that outside counter striking and just rush in on him. And MVP's ranked at number 13. I don't know if Buckley's up at number 9 now. Are you going to have him fighting behind? I wouldn't think so. Especially with the performance he just put on. But you never know.
Yeah, I think the UFC is protecting a guy like Ian Machado Gary. I think they're trying to, prop him up for the future. So I don't know if they would throw Joaquin Buckley him, but what about like a Sean Brady? I'd have to see if does Sean Brady have a fight on the books. I could see that fight happening possibly. So Brady just had a fight against Gilbert Burns, which he won. That was September. So that was just last month. So yeah, why not pair those guys up?
I like it.
I think I think they're trying to protect Ian, and Sean Brady's ranked higher than Ian, so why not pair Buckley and him up? See how that turns out. They're gonna pick and choose who they put Colby up against. They're not just gonna throw him an up and comer. I don't know who they put him up against next. Maybe a circus fight. Maybe they'll put Connor against him. Who knows? But yeah, Buckley versus Sean Brady. That's very intriguing. But let's move on to the main card, fellas. The curtain jerker on this one, women's bantamweight division. You had Kayla Harrison defeating Ketlin Vieira by unanimous decision. And this was a fight that happened that didn't play out like I thought it would. In that first round, Kayla worked the clinch early, but didn't really do anything with it. Then towards the end of the round, she got a takedown and some good ground and pound in the full mount. And then round two was mostly clinch work and not a whole lot of action, but Vieira caught her with a nice elbow that, cracked her wide open. Then round three was very similar to the first round, that clinch work early by Harrison, and then towards the end of the round, got her down, full mount, trying her best to throw some big blows down there, but Vieira was kind of elusive down there, but, Harrison got the job done. What were your thoughts on this one, Amir?
Yeah, my thoughts are a lot of clinch work in that fight, a lot of it. But the whole time I'm just thinking, man, like Ketlin couldn't do anything like to get away from the clinch. You did mention that she got a good shot on her head, cracked her head open pretty good. But other than that, I'm like, man, you're the number 2 ranked, women's bantamweight. Like, how are you ranked this high and you can't reverse a clinch, get out of a clinch, do anything? And maybe it's not a testament to her skills, maybe it's a testament to how good Kayla Harrison is with that judo and staying locked up and just how big and powerful she is. Because, dude, I mean, just looking at Harrison, she's a beast.
She's jacked. Definitely got those biceps for days. Steve, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, she definitely put on a good performance. There's at times to where she's kind of new to me, and I'm kind of testing how much her dominance of grappling and her judo is. And there's a few times
she's better than Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey won bronze in the Olympics. Kayla Harrison won 2 golds.
Mm-hmm.
I know she won 2012 and 2016 Olympics. So she's gold medalist in judo. So she's a step above everybody else as far as that. But sometimes judo doesn't always translate to MMA. But didn't mean to cut you off. I'll let you proceed.
No, you all good. And just showing that she can come in here with these females of today, with their skill level, because people always talk about the skill level of Ronda when she came in as a judo practitioner and was as dominant. I think she transitioned her style very well. Now there's times to where she used it to where she needs to find something in between so she won't get hit with a strike or put herself at risk when she's standing up. But definitely I see her contending for the championship and will and probably be. But considering what's at bantamweight, which is who's that champion now?
Juliana Pena.
Yeah. I think that's that'll be a good fight itself.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that matchup in a little bit once we talk about the co-main event. But like, if you beat the number 2 person in the world, that's definitely an impressive win. But I've been following her for a long time for some reason, because when I got whispers, because I was for some reason that Olympics where she won the gold medal in 2016, I was following her then because I don't know, there's some whispers of her like going over to MMA once the Olympics were done. She didn't want to do it, and so once she finally agreed to do it, I'm like, oh, let me see what's going on with her. Gold medalist coming in MMA, could be another Ronda. And when she was in PFL, she was just running through the competition. And as she, the years progressed, her stand-up was getting a lot better. Like she's a strong woman, and she ran into who she run into, and she lost like her. I want to say her last PFL fight. She might have had one more fight after that, but I thought because she's fighting at 155 at PFL, and UFC doesn't even have a 145, and she finally lost to Larissa Pacheco, and she had one more other fight after that in 2023. But that was a shock when she lost to Pacheco, and it was like it was a weird fight. I don't think she should have lost, but she definitely lost if you go back and watch the fight. But I don't know, maybe she was just off and couldn't deal with the size. But for that, she was just running through people. She was submitting people, TKOing people. And I'm like, she should have been in the UFC. I thought she would have crossed over like 2020. Maybe the pandemic kind of put a halt on that. I know her and Nunes were teammates. So maybe that was a little bit why she was hesitant in going over. They're not teammates anymore because Nunes went and started her own gym, and they were kind of building towards that, them facing each other after Nunes moved to the gym. But then she lost to Pena, and that kind of derailed that. And so they had to do the Pena rematch. And then I think Harrison lost like in between. Then I want to say that happened. So, stars didn't line up. She might have lost after. I can't remember the timeline, but like I said, her stand-up has been getting better ever since she's been progressing through the years. I think, what was her first PFL? 2018. So her stand-up was progressing, but and then her stand-up didn't look too good in this fight. I kind of wasn't impressed by it because I'm like, what happened to all that progress you had? I expected her to look a little bit better on the feet in this fight. And also, as I mentioned earlier, it's the number 2 girl, so a win is a win, but I thought she could have had a more emphatic win and maybe it finished her. Like I said, maybe it was Vienna, maybe it was her being elusive on the ground, but I don't know. Harrison maybe could have been a little bit more aggressive on the ground and maybe TKO'd her, maybe go for that choke. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but when you have all the eyes, watching that bantamweight cold main event, you want to get the, most impressive win, and she won, but I don't know. That's just me nitpicking. But like I said, we'll get into the potential matchup a little bit later when we talk about the co-main event because they did some type of weird split screen during the interview, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's go to this next fight, fellas, in the middleweight division. And before we get into that, all 3 of us picked Harrison to win that one. But in the middleweight division, we had Roman Dolidze defeating Kevin Holland. And once again, all 3 of us had Dolidze winning this fight. It was a chess match on the feet for the first 2 minutes. But Dolidze was able to get the takedown a little bit after the 2 minutes passed and controlled him on the ground. And then in an attempt to get back on his feet, Holland injured himself, and Dolidze almost finished him with that ground and pound, but Holland survived it. And then on replay, it showed that he kind of injured his rib or midsection when he was trying to transition. And then in this corner, stopped it in between rounds. What were your thoughts on this one, Amar?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. I mean, it was kind of even for a little bit, and then the injury. I went back and I watched this on replay like a dozen times, and I could not find like the moment that the injury happened. Like I couldn't see anything that like was directly the cause of it. And I thought it was weird because after the round, he went over and told his corner, he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. And then ended up not being fine. Well, I don't know if you've ever broke a rib or anything, but usually people that have broke a rib aren't like standing up and able to really talk. Like, I mean, that's the most excruciating shit. I've had a broken rib before. Like, you just want to lay on the ground and fucking curl up. So, I mean, I don't know if it was a rib. I don't know if they've come out and said anything. Maybe it was, a shot to, an organ that was in the area, but it just, to me, it didn't look like a broken rib situation, but is what it is. And shout out to Roman for getting the win.
Yeah, I hadn't done a follow-up, but like you said, who knows? It could have been something else beside the rib, but Holland's a tough dude. If he wasn't hurt, I don't think he'd be trying to find an out in a fight. But there is a bigger question or kind of thought I want to, go around and see y'all's thoughts on it. But before that, what were your thoughts on this fight, Steve?
Yeah, yeah, it was disappointing. It reminds me of a little bit of, was it Kobe Covington and Tyron Woodley, I believe. I think he was trying to transition out of something and hurt his rib. And man, those are one of those injuries, just like broken legs in half. Like for some reason, broken ribs make me cringe. So I hope he's okay. But I think I even said it before our past podcast. I think unreliable, maybe injury or something. And what do you know? He got injured. Not that I would wish that on anybody, but yeah, it seems like Kevin Holland can't catch a break.
Yeah. The MMA gods give it, then they take it away.
I think
But
he got injured before, hasn't he? In a fight. Kevin Holland.
maybe.
Didn't he have a
Yeah,
didn't he have a clash of the heads or something where he
Yeah,
couldn't
something
that
continue?
happened.
Something weird like that.
Uh,
Yeah, accidental clash. This was back in 2021. They clashed heads, him and Kyle Dukakis. That was a long time ago. You got a good memory. It's almost exactly 3 years ago. This was a fight night, Santos and Walker. Yeah, it happens. But going back to his corner stopping it, you don't see that a lot of MMA corner stoppages where your corner stop is usually referee or doctor. And because we know why, because in MMA, you lose the fight, you don't get that other half of your win bonus, as opposed to boxing. They corner stop it all the time because they getting paid regardless. Do y'all think this was commendable on his corner's part to stop it? And do y'all think this will be a trend going forward? Admire, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it kind of revolves around how much more we know these days about injuries and things like that. With advanced technology, the NFL taking head shots more serious and everything. And I think it's the same for MMA, that you're going to see the coaches really trying to protect their fighters more. And also, I mean, they definitely want to look out for their players, their fighters' health, but that's also kind of the corner's paycheck too. You want to make sure your guy's good to keep fighting. You don't want, to put him in a situation where he may never fight again. So there's a lot of angles to it, but I think that, they will. And one thing I heard after this fight is I heard they got into it backstage as well.
Really?
Yeah, I think Holland was upset because the crowd was booing him and all that stuff.
And he got in with Delete backstage?
Yeah.
That's not Delete fault. They were booing him.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault that he couldn't continue, but I mean, I've tried looking it up here while we were talking, and I don't see anything confirmed about an injury. It just says, the TKO stoppage because of a rib injury.
Jeez. Fighters will be fighters, I guess. What do you think, Steve? You think it'll trend towards more corners doing this, or?
I think most definitely. I think there's a lot of hidden rules about MMA, like you're a quitter, and maybe all those things in 2024, those things are starting to transition. Things will be more acceptable. I think there's a few times in MMA I remember Anthony Pettis and a few others that had to ask the fighter if they can continue, and the corner said, we can stop the fight and you won. So I guess that's a rare case, but I mean, broken rib, if you do, and I'm pretty sure they know Kevin Holland, from practice training with him, if he can go back out there. And like you said, they're going to get paid anyway. So having a night to get paid, I don't think that was a problem for him. I think they really try to identify. I don't think it's good to fight with a broken rib. It's not one of those injuries that you can fight through like a broken toe. I mean, because I'm guessing like, you can go through organs, I wouldn't want to mess with that. So I hope so. But then again, I don't want fighters to use that as a way out either. But I think it's going to continue the way it is.
Yeah. Like, you see the economy we're in, I think it's not going to be a trend with more corners doing this. Maybe the top guys like a Conor McGregor, he's the cash cow, and he's getting paid regardless. Or like a John Jones, you might see his corner do it. But for like the mid to lower level fighters, I don't think it's going to be a trend. I think it should be a trend. You should protect your fighters. Like you're looking at it, for the more long term, success. You want to protect your fighter, but I think people just want to try to win the fights. The corners are thinking about getting their cut of it, and they're going to want that 50, you get paid if you win, you get double the pay if you win. So I think we're going to continue to see people throw their fighters back out there, even though they have a limb falling off, and they're going to try to tape it back up with duct tape and send them back out there. But hats off to Kevin Holland's corner for, seeing that he was hurt and not trying to force him to fight. But, hopefully it'll change somewhere down the line, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But let's get into this next fight. Bantamweight division, we had Mario Batista defeating Jose Aldo by split decision. I had Batista, and Admire and Steve both had Jose Aldo. And this was a weird fight because Batista did a lot of clinch work that I think won him the fight. But every time that they weren't clinched, you could see glimpses of the old Aldo, and his striking looked pretty good when they weren't in the clinch. But he couldn't get in away from Batista making it kind of a dirty fight, and Batista was able to get the split decision. And what are your thoughts on this one, Admire?
This fight is what I've been talking about since we started this show. And a lot of people finally realized it. They said it on the broadcast. They said it on like the presser. All the reaction people said it. You should not get points for a failed takedown. And that's what it was. 10 failed takedowns that kept him tied up against the fence. It didn't do anything. And then, like you said, when they separated, to me, Aldo got the best of the exchanges, landed the harder shots, the bigger shots, and Aldo looked great. But, I would have liked to seen Aldo get off the cage more, but there wasn't really anything done when he was on the cage. So I went back. So like I said, I watched this on TikTok Saturday night, and I went back and I watched the fight today, and I scored it for Aldo. I had rounds 2 and 3 for Aldo.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, a lot of people argue that you shouldn't get rewarded for not doing anything on the ground, no striking or creating damage, where Aldo was getting off the bigger shots and imposing more of a threat anywhere instead of just holding somebody and wasting time, which I think that's my opinion, and I think a lot of other people's is a opinion that you shouldn't be awarded points unless you're transitioning to a better spot, every time, or it was just, I don't know. It seems like Aldo loses these types of fights and can't catch a break, especially when he has somebody that grapples. But this would be a disappointing loss, I guess, for Aldo, where he's trying to go.
Yeah, I can't remember because I'm guessing you had Batista winning the first round.
Yeah.
I was like dozing off during the first round, but I went back and watched the second and third round, and I think I may have scored it for Aldo, but I picked Batista to win, so that's how the ball dropped. But as far as controlling and clinching, like we always talk about, there's no defined rules, and it seems like in this quote unquote new era, they've been leaning towards the more damage. But I guess you got some other commissions, like when you're in Utah, that still are maybe prescribing to the old rules of controlling more so, and so
I mean,
one way of scoring these fights.
But I mean, I can see the argument against my argument too. He shouldn't have got points. Batista shouldn't have got points for keeping all those tied up in the clinch and not getting a successful takedown. But at the same time, Aldo didn't really do anything at the same time he was trying to get the takedown. It would be different, if he reversed it and threw him against the cage and got the separation, but it really wasn't that most of the time. So, I mean, I can see it both ways, but, I think when you have that much neutral time, because I consider that neutral time when they're tied up and nobody's doing anything, the takedown isn't successful. There isn't really any strikes being exchanged. Outside of that, Aldo had, the more damage, the better strikes, the bigger strikes. I think the emphasis should be there. So I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I'm not a judge, thankfully, probably to most fighters.
So Aldo was 9, he dropped, or he's 10, he dropped a spot, and Bautista was 11, and Raul was up to 9. So, Aldo didn't take too much of a hit from losing this fight. Well, he's kind of in a weird place because he retired and came back, and he probably felt like he won this fight. So, like, where would you even go with Aldo from here? Because if he would have won this fight, they might have made a case to hot shot him higher up on the card, maybe give him a Sugar Sean fight, maybe even try to catapult him up to facing Marab, because he has a star power. But now that he took this L, like, where do you go with Aldo now?
For me, I say let's take it back to the old school, man. Let's do Dominic Cruz.
We always talk about this fight. This fight is never going to happen. I think Dominic is retired, man. I haven't heard about him like trying to fight in a while.
Yeah, but it'd be fun. Take it back, to the old school, why not? Neither one of them really have a title run left in them. Not a lot left to prove. Like you said, Aldo retired and is already inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's how long he's been around and all that. So do some fun fights or run it back with McGregor. I don't care.
McGregor have to cut down the featherweight and Aldo would have to go back up. McGregor's retired in my eyes at this point. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, it's a shame to see him not get a good fight to where he see his striking, because when he gets his rhythm on, his striking's amazing. And I hate to see him retire again or get losses for where he can't show his skill set, which I think this is what fight that did that to him. But like Admire said, I would like to see the old Aldo throwing those leg kicks, knees. Surprise, he used to throw off takedowns, but people change over time. So I would like to see a good matchup from Aldo. I hope they don't give him a wrestler for his next fight.
Hey, I mean, I don't know if Song Young Dung has anything on the books right now. He's number 8. Aldo's number 11. Why not match those two up?
That would be a good fight, especially style set. That would be if Song takes the fight and wants to give Aldo opportunity and take a chance on using Aldo's name as notoriety.
Yeah, when was Song's last fight? He just lost to Peter Yan. This was back in March, so he's probably got something on the books. No, from what I'm seeing, he doesn't have anything on the books. If Aldo still wants to do it, I say line those two up. That could probably headline a fight night in Brazil if they want to do that, or a fight night in China if they want to do that. Not have it on a pay-per-view. You know how they get down nowadays. But yeah, Aldo didn't look bad in there. He has some left in the tank. He's only 38. I mean, it's not young, but he retired, so he got to rest his body some during that retirement. So he could keep going if he wants to, but guess we just have to be on the lookout to see what happens with him next. But let's move on to the co-main event, fellas. In the women's bantamweight division, we had Juliana Pena defeating Raquel Pennington and becoming your new women's bantamweight champion. all three of us had Pena winning back her belt. And this was not the most interesting fight, but one went out there and gave it their all. In round one, not a whole lot going on, but Pennington worked the jab, but nothing big happened. Round two, halfway through it, Pena got the takedown and didn't do a whole lot of damage. And round three, more of the same. Pena got the body lock and the takedown. And actually got a tight rear naked choke, but Pennington survived that one. And round four, Pennington started around with that head kick and stunned Pena a little bit. Later on in the round, Pennington dropped Pena with a big right hand. So that was a big round for Pennington. And then round five ended up being a stand-up battle. And each lady had their moments, but it seemed like Pena was landing harder, more damaging shots, and Pena was able to get the victory. What were your thoughts on this one, Am I?
I saw it a little bit differently on that fifth round, but I mean, this was a very evenly matched, fight, and I think they're similarly skilled. So it was really a chess match. I did pick Pena to win this, but watching it twice, I scored it for Pennington both times. I had what did I have? I think I had rounds 1, 4, and 5 for her. I think she was landing the more, the heavier shots, the better shots. I think round 1, the striking was pretty even, but round 4, Pennington landed a lot more. Round 5, she landed a lot more. So, I mean, I think that, going back to what we were talking about earlier with Kayla Harrison, is this fight was so even and being a split decision. I imagine they'll have to run this back and they'll probably put Kayla on like another fight, another contenders fight, because you don't really want to put Harrison in a championship fighting like she did the other night. And this fight, I believe, just left a lot of questions. Was it an exciting fight? Not really, but it was very close. And, I wouldn't mind seeing it again. Hopefully both of them, come back, with a little more excitement and some, sharper tools.
I'll put that thought on pause, but I want to get Steve's thought on this fight first.
I didn't see this fight in its entirety as far as attention, but from what I was looking at, which I can't truly have a true opinion, but to me it seemed like Pena was just getting the little bit of edge from Raquel Pennington to me. Saying that, y'all were talking about where she goes from here. I think what her call out, and I don't know if you can talk about this later, her call out, so she can, that puts other things in the mixes if Amanda Nunes comes back. I think that's who she called out. So like I said, I didn't see it in its entirety, but that's my opinion. I think Juliana Pena got the edge over Pennington just a little bit.
Like Amai said, he had it for Pennington. I don't really know who I had for it. I mean, it could have went either way, so can't be mad. Like they always say, don't leave it in the hand of the judges. Like if they would have scored it for Pennington, I wouldn't have been mad at that. And they scored it for Pena, so But I don't think they should run it back like Amai was saying. Pennington wasn't a dominant champion. Don't leave it in the hands of the judge. Like you don't deserve an immediate rematch. And from how they set it up afterwards, they had the split screen and had Harrison on there. And like Steve said earlier, that was a perfect alley-oop opportunity to say me and you, Harrison. But she went left. People aren't. Pena's not the biggest fan favorite. She rubs people the wrong way. And I don't think this rubbed people the right way. Her calling out a retired fighter in Amanda Nunes. What do you think about that call out, Am I?
Nah, no, that I don't calling out retired fighters. That's a Paul brother move.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, Nunes may come out of retirement, but it's not going to be for Juliana Pena. If she came out of retirement, it'd be for a super fight. Maybe they try to run her and Harrison. Maybe is Nunes is only 36, but I don't think he has any interest of coming out of retirement for Pena. It's a money grab. I mean, I didn't really like it, but as far as the Harrison fight, that's probably what they're going to do next. I'm almost 100% positive. Seeing how Harrison performed in her fight, I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion that she's going to run through Pena. I'm still going to probably pick Harrison, but once they do make a fight, we'll dig deep into the analysts more than what we're doing now. But first thoughts on that fight, are you leaning more towards Harrison, am I?
Yeah, I think so. I think he would probably end up on the ground. I don't think Harrison's going to experiment with the stand up. I think she's going to go to what she knows, get into that judo, hit the ground, and, being as big and strong as she is, she's probably just going to control it from there.
What do you think, Steve?
I definitely agree. I think from what I saw with Harrison Dunn compared to Pena and who she's fought in the past, I don't think she's fought as somebody as dominant or, Pena, the way she strikes and the way she fought Amanda Nunes, I think it plays into the style of Harrison. All that upper body strength and, throwing a strike, you run into her. All she can do is just a hip toss, to which I think she can do to Pena all day, especially into the latter rounds. So I think that would be definitely a good fight. But, I think it's this definitely Nunes. She left without losing. So you can't not give her that opportunity. John Jones had the same opportunity. Plus, it brings another superstar for what it's worth that I think the UFC needs more right now.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they're not going to say no to Emmanuel Nunes if he wants to come back, but I don't think I had heard any whispers of her wanting to come back. I think it was just a reach by Pena.
Yeah.
He's trying to clout chase, which is lame to me. I don't think Nunes is coming back anytime soon, especially for her. So, but you never know. Stranger things have happened in this sport. But I'm with both of y'all. I think Harrison will win comfortably. Before Harrison's fight this past weekend, I would have said she would have ran through Pena, but not a dominant win by Harrison. Not as dominant as I thought it was going to be, but I still think she gets through Pena and she becomes that new women's bantamweight champion and they kind of hot potato the title for a little bit. But I guess we'll have to see once they actually put this fight on the books. Let's talk about this main event, fellas. The UFC light heavyweight championship was on the line, and you had Alex Pereira defeating Khalil Roundtree, TKO fourth round. All three of us had Alex Pereira winning. This was just pure violence, and we'll get into the aftermath on how people looked after this fight. But round one, Alex looked out. One thing that I noticed during the beginning of this fight, Alex looked a whole lot bigger than Roundtree. I don't know. It just looked, noticeably like they're in different weight classes, maybe. I don't know. But he looked a lot bigger than Roundtree. Maybe it's just the height. Alex is leaner. So maybe, you had to take that into consideration, but he just looked bigger. But Khalil was rushing in and connecting and stole that first round. And then round two, Khalil did more of the same thing, and he dropped with that hook when Alex missed with that kick. And then he also got that head kick as well. And then round three, that's when the tables turned and Alex settled back in, worked that jab, and he could just tell Khalil was wearing down his face, just kept connecting with that jab and just busted him up. And then round four, Roundtree was just pretty much target practice for Pereira. He hung in there, I'll give him that, but Alex just broke him down, finished him with those body shots and uppercuts, and it was a work of art as far as combat sports goes, and Alex Pereira was able to retain that light heavyweight championship. What were your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, this is a good fight. This was awesome. We all picked Alex to win, but Roundtree, I mean, he was just game in there, dude, and just surprising. He won rounds 1 and 2. I think he was winning round 3 up until about the halfway point, and then it seemed like just the energy was sucked from him, and that's when Alex really took over. But Roundtree he impressed everybody. I haven't heard one person dog his performance at all. I had him winning up until the middle of round 3. And, the interesting thing is, Alex is the striker, a very good striker, but like that's his bread and butter. Alex landed as many strikes in round 4 as he did rounds 1, 2, and 3. So, it was all leading up to that finish, but Alex didn't throw a whole lot of shots in the first few rounds. And I think it's because he was on the defense, man, because Roundtree, he was jumping in there, winging stuff and connecting and just, the head kick, I thought Alex, being a kickboxer, would see a head kick coming from a mile away. And, he landed a solid head kick on him. Roundtree, he'll stay towards the top if he keeps fighting like that, and maybe he'll fight for the belt again one day. Going into this fight, I was like, man, I don't know if this guy really deserves to fight for the belt, but he's got heart. He proved it. He's worth it.
Man, I don't know if I said this on the last show, but I knew he was going to be a live dog just because he's got that power and he's a violent fighter. I may have given him more chance than a lot of the talking pundits out there, and he kind of proved me right the first couple rounds. If it would have been a regular 3-round fight, he would have won. But, championship fights are 5 rounds, unfortunately, on his part. But, yeah, like he was connected. He just ran out of gas, probably. That's probably what happened. He just ran out of gas. But what are your thoughts on this fight, Steve, before we dig deeper into this?
Definitely. I definitely think it was planned. Maybe even down to the location, and probably that's what got Khalil is the elevation too. But like I said, the first few rounds, like he said, he threw that head kick and he missed, and he came with the hook and dropped him for a minute, and also got that head kick off. But I think what maybe got Khalil is the jitters. He was doing good and just burnt out. After the fourth round, into the 4th round, you just see,
like am I saying, like midway through the 3rd is kind of just hit a wall, kind of.
You see Alex Pereira just flick it, and it's like flicker jab. You flick it on into his eye, like, and was hitting it directly, and I know that affected him. And that 4th round, you just see him turn it up, and I think he literally saw, which I did see, like the last strike where he was fatigued. He decided to turn it up, and like I said, the way he throws punches, it's like sometimes you see people throw punches and they stop at the face a little bit of advice. Like his hands keep on going through, his opponent, like literally uppercuts and especially that left hook. It just moves your face out of the way instead of your fist stopping. And I don't think Roundtree was ready for that. He knew he was cooked at a certain point, which I give him utmost respect, because you see him went out on his shield trying to throw haymakers. But that last combination, that 2 hooks to the body and that upper, that's what made it called it a day. But really impressed and really surprised, like you said, his height and how much bigger he was. I wonder if he took his time, which we already know he'd be cooked, but what his body would fill out to be heavyweight, because he did look pretty more size than Roundtree, and like you say, he's even lanky and he still looked a little big. But congratulations to Pierre.
Yeah, something you just said, I've been thinking all day how to say this without sounding stupid, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's like all the fighters they hit each other with the gloves,
Mhm.
but Alex hits you with his fist through his glove. Like, I can't explain it. He hits so much harder than everybody else. And then it was on one of the shows, or somebody said something. Referee Mark Goddard said something to Joe Rogan about, I've never heard hits like this. I've been reffing a long time, ref like 500 fights or something, and he's never heard anything like the sound that Pierre's punches make. Like, it's just the most solid sound.
It's probably technique. I mean, he's a kickboxer. He was fighting in, who was he fighting in, Dream or K1, or he's a kickboxer. That's probably why, because like that's what he does. And like you said, he like actually punches with his fist and not with the gloves. But I get what you're saying. I don't even know how to articulate that either. But yeah, I mean, he just hits hard, and he's like he said, like he's a big guy, but he's not like a stocky Mike Tyson type dude. Like how's he generating that much power like that? It's definitely interesting. I'd like to see what was the sports science show they had. I'd like to see the sports science on Alex Pereira.
Yeah, really, they do need to do something like that and to see how he generates it, because it was Sports Science or a show like that did it on Chuck Liddell, and it showed how his punch actually started with his feet. He had this way of rolling his punch up his whole body and unleashing like this power burst in his punches, and that's what made Chuck Liddell's knockout so dangerous. And I think Pierre's got something like that. Like he pulls them punches out of like a full body just torque into it. I mean, it's different than everybody. Even his jabs are just like devastating.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Alex Pereira went in there and did Alex Pereira things, and he defended the title. And afterwards, people have been clamoring he should go up to heavyweight. But he said he wants to stay down at light heavyweight and keep doing his thing. What do you think about that, Amar?
Part of me wants to see him go up to heavyweight just to, hit another weight division, but I don't think he would have the same success. You got too many really big guys up there and a lot of wrestling heavy guys, and I don't think you want a 265-pound, Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades, Cyril Gahn getting a hold of you and dragging you to the ground, because then it's gonna damage that hype that Alex has right now. Right now, with as many fights as he's had in the last couple of years and winning the belts, like he's on top right now. The hype's behind him, and you're going to lose a lot of that if some heavyweight takes you down and lays on top of you and just makes you look really bad.
Yeah, that's definitely something that he should be aware of. What are your thoughts, Steve, on him saying he wants to stay on at light heavyweight?
I definitely think he has options to where he's staying at. And then we forget Duplessis called him out. He said he can come down, or he said he'll come up. I would like to see Duplessis get a few more wins to do that, but that's an option right there. I don't think he has to go nowhere. He was accomplished the middleweight and then was on the trajectory that Israel was on. And, if Israel would have, I think, won his Blachowicz fight, this is what we would see. What was, somebody from middleweight going up to lightweight. I think we're seeing it with Pereira. Definitely avoid any extreme wrestlers, but I don't want to doubt him because he's with Glover Teixeira. He might have something sneaky up his sleeves to surprise us.
Yeah, he may, but I'm gonna go on the women's side. Probably not. I would be more intrigued with him, like you said, Steve. I would want to see him go down to middleweight before I would want to see him go up to heavyweight. This may be controversial, may not be, because they've been really pushing it Pierre as like almost like the semi or full face of the UFC now. Like you got a lot of fans that have been getting behind him, and like he's superstar, got star power on him. I'm not taking away anything from what he's done because he's been putting on shows and knocking people out left and right, but I am not quite ready to all the way jump on the Pierre train because they've been kind of tailor making good matchups for him as far as how his fights have been in the UFC. Because if you look back at it, he fought Israel when he's down in middleweight. I mean, Sean Strickland's an interesting fighter, but I'm more still talking about the Izzy fights that was still at middleweight, but then the light heavyweight fights. Jan Blachowicz, Jan likes to stand and bang. Polish Power. Yuri is a stand-up fighter. Jamal Hill, stand-up fighter. Yuri again, stand-up fighter. Khalil Roundtree, stand-up fighter. Don't get me wrong, Pierre's probably the most accomplished, probably the best stand-up dudes in maybe UFC history, but this is MMA. Like, people want to compare him to Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva's a black belt jiu-jitsu. Like, Anderson Silva submitted fools on the ground, and tremendous takedown defense, and nobody's really tested Alex Pereira as far as the grappling like that. I think Israel got him down in their second fight, maybe their first fight. So I need to see somebody test them. I need to see him go against a wrestler. People might not want to hear that. Oh, it might be boring, but if you want to be considered one of the best of your time or all time, you gotta test yourself against a wrestler. And Ankalaev, I don't know why he just didn't wait it out, but Magomed Ankalaev has a fight with Rakic next month, and I'm gonna go off on a limb and spoiler, I'm leaning towards Ankalaev. I might change my mind, but I'm leaning towards Ankalaev winning that fight, and I want to see Pierre versus Ankalaev next. If he gets past that test, then I will start going on the Pierre bandwagon more.
See, that's the fight I was going to say. That that would be the real test. But Ankalaev is also a stand-up fighter, though. I mean, he's like,
he's got that Sambo background, though.
I was going to say he's allegedly Sambo background, but all he does is knock people out. So he might be goaded into standing up and trading, instead of using that. But I think what you said is 100% correct. I don't think he's been tested by somebody that wants to take him to the ground. And this kind of goes back to what I said a little bit ago about with like people playing their games, like with McGregor. Everybody wanted to beat McGregor at his own game, so they stood with him until somebody started, taking him down. And I think it's the same thing with Alex. I think a lot of people want to stand and trade with Alex. So it's only a matter of time.
Sorry to cut you off, though, but you don't think like they're kind of matching him up with people that aren't even going to try to take him down? Because if you look at it, like nobody doesn't have like really that resume to try to take him down like that.
I do think it's that, but I think also kind of in those two divisions, you have a lot of striking dominant people as well, so they might as well play that game. Sean Strickland, he's a striker. Izzy, kickboxing. Robert Whitaker, mostly kickboxing type. Jerry, stand up. So I see it a little bit, but I think they are kind of shading him. But I mean, just looking at the light heavyweight, I think Ankalaev is the only wrestler that's really up there. Maybe Krylov.
I'd have to go back and look at Krylov's resume. But maybe he's just a product of what's in his division. But like you said, he go up to heavyweight, he's gonna find out real quick about people trying to take him down. So I don't know. I mean, it's fun, watching them go out there and knock fools out. But when people want to start putting him on the pedestal, I need to see him tested. What are your thoughts on this, Steve?
Yeah, like you said, he might got in the right era at the right time. Because I was giving him praise, and although I'm giving him his credit, I think we have to go back to John Jones, and to say to this day John Jones is still winning. He was on death row with many compilation of different fighters, and aced it with colors. We haven't seen pretty much be tested for Pierre to be tested at all skill levels. As far as somebody comparison on the trajectory to be, on a winning streak with all these strikers in light heavyweight. And like I said, it is what it is. It's his generation, but I just like to compare, to the best, like heavyweight, which is John Jones. Definitely hasn't been tested amongst to where his wins may have come in his favor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If he wants to stay at light heavyweight, I guess it would throw a wrench if Ankalaev loses, and I don't know if they want Rakic to face him. So I guess it all depends on what happens down there in Abu Dhabi next month, and I think it should be Ankalaev. I think that's probably Dana's worst nightmare, just like Marab was with Sugar Sean O'Malley. Because if Alex Pereira loses at light heavyweight, then who are you banking on to be kind of like the star and the carry? Because John Jones is talking about retiring. I mean, people wanted to kind of write him off as being old, but he's 37, which isn't young, but that's younger than Jose Aldo and Wonder Boy and all those guys. So, but that's kind of on John Jones doing on him. Kind of, at points UFC did have the rocket on him, kind of, but those suspensions and him sitting out. But as far as Pierre goes, I think Pierre and Jones are the same age too. So take that for what it's worth. They're both the same age, and I guess Pierre is kind of the flavor of the month, so to speak. So they're kind of attaching themselves to that kind of rocket and star power. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens next with him. I mean, like you said, he's kind of small for a heavyweight. I mean, UFC doesn't have the 225 division. There is a 225 division that's commissioned by the Athletics, who makes divisions in MMA. Some leagues have them. Of course, UFC doesn't, but that's the cruiserweight division. But he would be perfect for like a cruiserweight division, I think. 225. But those big boys, some cut down to 265. So you might be in trouble with that. But as far as Roundtree goes, like you said, a lot of people didn't think he would do that well. I mean, what was he ranked going into that? Number 10 or so?
Ranked number 8, and he's still at number 8.
Yeah, so he didn't drop. Like you said, he could easily find himself in another title fight after 3 or 4 fights. He was on like a 5-fight win streak, so if he reels off 3 more fights, he probably could be back in the title fight. Like, who can you see him getting matched up with next?
Oh, probably somebody like a Jamal Hill, maybe.
Oh yeah, that fight was supposed to happen and it got canceled due to injury.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that fight back on.
Yeah, they should probably put that back on. Or I mean, it's quite a jump, but even Jerry, they both just fought Alex. Kind of find out who's going to stay towards the top. See what happens, or even John
Jones.
No, John Blachowicz.
Oh, Jan Blachowicz. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I can see that happening. What do you think, Steve?
As far as
Roundtree.
Yeah, you said Jamal Hill. Definitely, I see that, especially after his performance, what he put on. He's gained so much respect. I can definitely see them putting him against somebody top up there. Let's see. And Jamal Hill, is he ranked? What is he ranked?
Jamal Hill's 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 or 4.
And who's on top of that?
Jerry 1,
Jerry.
Magomed Ankalaev at 2, and Jamal Hill 3.
Dude, that Jerry sounds very good too, as far as stylistic. Pierre came off a lot. Jerry came off a loss from Pierre. Khalil did. I think that would be an amazing matchup, stylistic. So Khalil can get back in there and get a big win.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards remaking that Jamal Hill fight, put him in there, see what happens. And neither one of them are super young. I mean, Roundtree was 34 and Hill maybe 33 or so. So, the time is now to make that fight. But what do y'all think about that post-fight interview though, where he had that like blood bubble coming from his? I don't even know what to call that.
Oh yeah, they just kind of stopped and was like, "You want to wipe your nose?" There's a lot of blood, man. It was a lot.
Like what is that? Snot mixed with blood? Like
Dude, it reminded me of the shit you see on the internet, like after people, get a deviated septum fixed, they pull out just a big blood clot. Like it was gross.
Like some coagulation and probably from the third round up.
that's like what the bros live for. Just bleed. Like they like seeing it. I thought it was disgusting. Though it didn't like gross me out, but I just thought it was a little disgusting. Like that's weird, but that's a part of fighting. But that's definitely gonna, somebody probably gonna make a poster out of that, and it's gonna be in fighting lore. That fight, it got fight of the night as it should. That's probably on my list, probably top fights of the year. I got to go back and definitely the Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. That too. I don't even know if that might be on. That was more one-sided though. It just ended epically. As far as like back and forth fights of the year, definitely this fight will probably be on there. Maybe we'll do an end of the year awards with this show. I gotta think about that, but yeah, overall, this card wasn't, too spectacular outside of the main event. So not a whole lot of replay value, but like I said, probably had one of the fight of the years on that one. And that'll bring us to the end of the show. This weekend, we got Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol in the light heavyweight division in boxing. So, we got to come back and recap that. And in October is another UFC card in Abu Dhabi. The headline for that who is the headline for that card?
Let's see. What do we got?
Isn't that Max? Isn't that Max and Ilya Tapiria?
Yeah, it's 2:00. It's a 2:00 fight.
I kind of like those early cards that's going down to Abu Dhabi. So, we'll be back to preview that one and then recap that afterwards. But yeah, that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. You hooking on more plot, I leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest. Sitting on the top, and I'm laughing at the